BSL fans? We are into the final 2 days of the BSL. It's the round of 4. And of course, joining me is Mr. Seriosity. We've got 2 fantastic best of 5s coming up. It's going to be Sziky versus Mihu, which you're seeing on the screen. And then our second series is going to be Gypsy versus Dawid. So Mr. Seriosity, give me your initial thoughts on these 2 matchups.
Well, Mihu is definitely looking like one of the top. Well, he's a top Chinese player from what I heard, but definitely showed skill level that would have him near the top of the foreigners that participate in BSL. Sziky, who has a long history of being one of the best foreigners ever, basically before Remastered, and now he's still at the top after. Like, he took a long break, and here he is yet again in another BSL semifinals. I think this is the second time. So this is a very difficult matchup to predict because they have no history playing each other. Same with Dawid and Gypsy, I would say. Although Dawid has been maybe number 1 or number 2 in the foreign scene for maybe the past 2 or 3 years, it's hard to predict how he'll do against Gypsy, basically because Gypsy has improved, or not improved, but has shown such high skill level this tournament specifically that even though you'd say Dawid is a favorite, Gypsy is hard to gauge how they would face off and do against each other.
Yeah, both series I'm looking forward to because of the unknowns. As you mentioned, Sziky versus Mihu, that's completely unknown. 1, because they've never faced off versus each other, and 2, have we even seen Mihu play a Terran versus Zerg yet? I don't think so. Like, we've seen him only play Terran versus Terran, Terran versus Protoss. We can't even really guess what he's even going to open with. Is it going to be like 2 racks? Is it going to be +1? Is he a mech player? I have no idea. And Sziky, because of there being a lack of Terrans in general in BSL, we don't even get to see his Zerg versus Terran very much. So in the round of 8, we saw him crush through Bonyth, so his skill is obviously very high these days, and this is going to be a very exciting matchup. And then, of course, the second matchup, we've got the Big Jip, we've got the Walt too, and I'm conflicted here because the Walt has been my pick for like 6 seasons now. Like, every tournament he enters, I'm like, okay, this is who I'm going to bet all my money on. But as you stated, I mean, the Big Jip here has increased his skill quite a lot. You can see it in his play too. I get the same feelings as when I watched Dawid back then. Like, when Dawid was, second to Bonyth, I still considered Dawid as having the more potential. I thought he was going to rise to the top. I get the same feelings here. Now, whether or not Gypsy has it right now, not too sure, but that Terran versus Protoss definitely going to be very exciting. But yeah, our first matchup is going to be a TVZ, and we're going to see if Sziky's got what it takes to take down the top player in China.
Yeah, and TVZ is a weird matchup in BSL because it seems like we never get to see it. It's always TVP or maybe PVZ, but for some reason, very few TVZs, and we're going to have a very, very high-skilled matchup here.
Yeah, have you seen Mihu TVZ at all?
We did see it earlier in the BSL, but those weren't, it was against Babo, and it's not really indicative of what kind of games we're going to end up seeing here.
Okay, I've already forgot those games. Maybe I was not casting that particular day. That's probably why. But yeah, this... if I was to just go out on a limb and guess what Mihu's going to play, based on his Terran versus Protoss, how, he's like factory man, he sometimes goes 5-fac, 6-fac, goes heavy factory, I would expect to see something like maybe +1 into 4 racks, or even 5 racks opener. I don't expect to see any type of finesse style builds. Like, I don't expect to see 1-1-1. I don't expect to see 2-4 Wraith. I guess we could see Goliath play, because a lot of people that go factory man in Terran versus Protoss tend to like Goliath mech type of openers in TVZ. So yeah, I am curious to see how he's going to open. But from Sziky's point of view, what do you know about Sziky's style in Terran versus Zerg?
Well, he likes to go 2F Muta. He's very aggressive, like in Zerg versus Protoss. He has very good link control. Maybe the best I've ever seen. Insane link control. With his multitask, I think this is actually his best matchup. Some of the weaknesses he has in ZVP, which is insane to say, right? Because he just beat Bonyth, are not here in ZVT. He knows his timings. He has very good mutalist and link control, and it's very how do I say it? Like playing against him as a Terran, I think it's very oppressive because it just feels like you can't do anything.
Yeah, that is true. As a Terran player, I've noticed lately, like in the past few months, for some reason, mutas feel unstoppable at the natural in particular. Like, I know we had a lot of oppressive maps like Eclipse and is it Good Night? Yeah, Good Night at top left. Like the SCVs just bounce around the minerals at your natural, and you can easily lose your entire mineral line to good muta control. And we know Sziky, if he doesn't have the best muta control in the foreign scene, it's close to being the best because it is just super deadly, and you can definitely see him show it off in ZVZ in particular. So this is going to be a very exciting matchup, and we have our players ready. Our first map is going to be Wavelet, a bit of a shocker. So let's get into our first game of today, guys. Terran versus Zerg, it's Mihu versus Sziky.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you your incredible
Here we go.
Well, in the top left, our Terran player representing China, it is Mihu.
And in the top right, we have our Hungarian Zerg Sziky. I really like that touch at the end there with Zero as the observer. We're like watching in the crowd.
I like Sziky's stone cold look with the sunglasses as the Hulk's about to just pounce on him. He's like just doesn't care. It's like, yeah, is that it? I'm gonna easily take you out. Well, we'll see if Sziky's got what it takes, because this is gonna be horizontal spawns, which means it's gonna be pretty close rush distances, and unfortunately for him, he is not going to scout Mihu first. Now again, guys, we have really not seen Mihu's TVZ at all, so there's no 8 racks this game, but I'm secretly hoping that we may get to see some aggressive openers from him next game. And speaking of aggressive openers, we've got a 9 pool coming up from Sziky.
Yeah, so not 9 pull speed, but still 9 pull, so he's gonna have very fast lings. And Mihu, okay, looks like he's gonna make a barracks. Mihu is gonna have to, if he doesn't scout this first, he's actually gonna be in a little bit of trouble. Gonna have to have really good SCV marine control to not die outright. And Sziky with the gas trick, so he gets an extra drone to scout, and there's the barracks.
Now we have to start thinking like, okay, what direction is the SCV going to go? It should go to top right because that's the normal scout pattern. We'll see. Okay, he is going to go to the right side. He's not going to go to the bottom side, and you can see that Sziky's going to be scouting pretty darn quickly too. He wants to know exactly where Terran is. Now, of course, seeing this 9 pool is going to be fantastic. However, I feel like he might get denied at his ramp and may not be able to actually gauge whether this was a gas opener. But here comes that drone, and it is going to put down the hatchery.
Yeah, based on the hatch timing alone, Mihu should know that it's a 9 pool, and he sees the Overlord would just pop, and there are the links, 6 links, Mihu retreating right away.
Yep, but he still did not get a look at the gas, so he doesn't know if it was built already. He doesn't know if it's starting. He doesn't know if, you know, there's no gas and this could be a third hatch. So you see he's going to send SCV back in there and go for a quick look. You have to do this because if you misread, you're in big time trouble. Now, 4 SCVs to defend the ramp, that's pretty much my go-to, but you have to remember, Terran a lot of times only has 1 Marine, 2nd Marine maybe just barely pops out, so these lings still can kill some of these SCVs, but Ziky's not going to commit to this. And, I mean, Terran's going to lose a lot of mining time keeping these SCVs here, but Sziky, of course, was looking for a little bit more damage.
Yeah, so only 3 SCVs now, and with one link chasing the SCV, Mihu feels pretty safe here. Is this going to be high ground command center? I think it is. And there's a link behind the mineral line scouting.
Ooh, so we are getting flashbacks to Soma's opener versus Rush in ASL. This is going to be an on-location third base. Now, something to point out with this is one, the SCV sees that there was gas, but does Mihu read this as being too late of a lair? Like, you should suspect that there's definitely something missing because the lair hasn't even started at 340. But I also have to say that this third base from Sziky, of course it's risky, but what makes it even riskier, it's at the main. If you guys watched ASL, Soma put it at the natural and spammed like 10 sunkens. You can't do that in this position. So I think Mihu, if he's got his spidey senses tingling, he may be able to just walk across the map and kill bottom right.
Of course, you gotta be careful with that. He didn't confirm lair timing, so it could have been speed first as well. It's gotta factor that in, but he just saw the links. They don't have speed quite yet. He did go second Rex right away, so it's gonna be 2 Rex Academy. Makes sense against a 9-pole opener. And I think Sziky still has that 1 link behind the natural, if I'm correct. So that's just there for scouting. He sees a bunker at the front. Sziky should be expecting fully that this is an expansion and not some kind of 1 base play.
Oh my god, Anonymous, thank you for the massive tip. You guys know BSL is looking to hit their donation goal to so that we can have BSL 14. So if you're thinking about donating, you only got 2 days left. Definitely donate if you can, and we can have BSL 14 next season. Now these lings, of course, they confirm the natural, but he loses 2 lings. And Sziky's defense is almost non-existent. I don't even see a red dot as his natural for a sunken. So extremely risky. And like I said, if Mihu suspects a hidden base, I mean, look how vulnerable this bottom right base is. The Spire also just started, so it's not like mutas are going to be popping out anytime soon. I have to say the Academy just finished, so Sziky does have a little bit of time before a move out's going to happen.
Right, and Mihu's still unaware of this third hatch at the third base. He's got to suspect maybe that it's not exactly there, but that it's somewhere out on the map. And here comes the first move out with the 2 medics. It's only 11 Marines, 10, but this is enough to force Sziky into making a lot of sunkens here. He actually left Marines in the bunker. Interesting play there, but it kind of diffused this counterattack completely. They're the links from Sziky in the main. Pretty low in health, so they shouldn't do much. Looks like they're going to get 1 SCV and additionally Scout, which is pretty good value for just the 2 links.
Yeah, so I think he saw a third barracks there, right? So he sees it's 3 racks, and like I was stating earlier, Mihu, just based on how he plays, he leads me to believe that this is going to be heavy Marine medic. We may see a 4 racks. Ling's going into the natural, going to kill another SCV, maybe? Gets into the main again. How many? Okay, it is 3 barracks. It's not 4 barracks. But what you can also be looking for with these links is the factory timing, because you watch pro players these days, they actually rush factory sometimes. So a good scout there, and he's picking off another SCV, man. He's gotten like 2 or 3, and also he's kept the Marines back, which means this bottom right base is going to be up and running with mutas easily in time to defend it.
Yeah, that's the kind of link play I'm talking about. Just killing 2 SCVs and 1 Marine is not a lot of damage, but forcing the Marine ball to stay back at home to defend is all he needed to do. And here the muta's already out, so now Mihu is actually going to be on the defensive, and he got away with this third base with basically minimal defense.
Yeah, so now the question is, what is Sziky's follow-up going to be? Obviously, it's mutas for now. He's getting +1 weapon, but a lot of Zerg players are getting +1 weapon these days. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is just going to be all in mutas. He does have option to go something like Hydra Guardian. You may even see some type of weird ultra play. There's no evolution chamber with upgrades, so probably not going to be on the menu, but okay, we've got a macro hatch already coming in, so this may be some type of heavy ling muta play and try and catch the Marine ball while it's out in the center of the map.
One thing I noticed is we still don't have a factory, and +1 on the eBay isn't upgrading, so I'm not really sure what Mihu's doing. It looks like the mutas, he actually loses 1 muta there and doesn't get a lot of damage, and now they're kind of trapped here. He's going to take some turret fire, but it looks like they all managed to escape.
That's turret damage for you. It just don't kill those mutas. And yeah, as you mentioned, there's no factory. It's just started. and Mihu's gas is pretty darn high, honestly. It's at 530. So he needs to spend his gas. It's probably going to be on a lot of vessels, but right now, early stage of the game, I would say Sziky's got a huge lead, and of course, missing +1. Massive. And I feel like Mihu's probably just forgot about it, because if you're not getting +1 by this point, really your only option here is to go into a mech switch, and we just don't see that these days.
So that was like an 8-minute factories. It looks like we have a little Marine move out here, actually heading towards the third. And we have Sziky with a nice muta ball. We saw 2 scans go off at like mid right and the close third to Sziky's base, and they didn't see anything. So he wasted another scan to confirm bottom right. And that's where the small group of Marines is heading.
Yeah, small group. This is always very punishing if there's absolutely no defense. I mean, even 4 Marines can deal a lot of damage, and this will force all those mutas to bottom right. Otherwise, he's going to lose an entire drone line. So nicely done from Mihu. I didn't even see those move out until you mentioned it. And here he goes. He's stimming in there. There's no medic, so it's kind of weak, but still, they are going to deal a lot of damage. Or actually, not as much as I anticipated, but now you can see the drones are getting mowed down since there's not a lot of surface area for the drones to get on top of them, but ends up taking them out, but loses like 5 or 6 drones in the process.
Yeah, so definitely worthwhile there. But Sziky, I mean, if it wasn't for that move, Sziky would have an insane economy here. He already has 4 hatcheries, which is pretty rare in ZVT to have 4 hatcheries this fast. He has the 11 mutas. He hasn't done a great job of mowing down the Marine ball, though. He does already have +1, and we have the huge group of reinforcements here. Only Marines. So if Sziky gets caught, if Mihu gets these caught, it could actually be pretty hard for him to fight the mutas. But Sziky has no idea this is going out on the map. And this is 12 Marines, not 4, and we have a lot of barracks here.
I thought he was just barely going to miss it, but now he intercepts the army. And I'll say, luckily for him, there's no medics here. So these mutas, if the Marines keep stimming, we'll be able to take these down. It's only 9 mutas, though. It's versus 12 Marines, and you can see how fast the Marines die with that +1 weapon kicking in for the Zerg. Now, Mihu has split off the entirety of his army. He's going to continue to move down to bottom right. I guess he scanned and saw there were no lurkers, and he realized that, hey, this is a vulnerable base. He's going to try and capitalize on it.
There's only 1 lurker morphing at the ramp, 1 in the main. It's not really enough. It's a large Marine ball, and there aren't that many mutas left. Looks like there's a gap. The mutas can't fight here effectively, though, so Mihu has to be careful, and there are Sziky's reinforcements coming from behind as well.
Yeah, okay, luckily there's 1 lurker here for Sziky to try and save the main. Ling's coming from the back with lurker support also, and he may be able to just barely hold this. Sunken's also going to come up in line, and I think he will hold it now that the Marines have kind of stemmed to their death. So barely holding on by the skin of his teeth there, and that means he is still going to have this third base up and running, and with the macro hatch, and that's going to be great for him. His drone count is also very good. But he does have a lot of gas, though, and I'm just wondering where that's going to get spent.
Yeah, so he actually lost all his mutalists, so it wasn't like Mihu threw away his army there. He did eventually kill all 11, all 11 mutalists. Only 1 left for Sziky.
Yeah, Sziky really kind of limited the amount of mutas he built this game. I think it was like 10 total. That was it. A lot of players go up to something like 15 to 20. So he really skimped out on the mutas, try and save that gas for something else. A lot of Zerg players today that I face actually have been going really, really hard on the lurkers. Like, I've had games where they have like upwards of 20 lurkers. But I don't think that's where the gas is going this time around. He's still floating over 1,000, so he does have that available. You can see his +1 armor is about halfway done. Mihu's +1 weapon is about to finish, though, so a big power spike for him. And the first 2 vessels going to try and push this natural.
Nice Ling Scourge play there to get the vessels. Oh, almost gets another with the mutalist. It's very important not to lose these early vessels. And I gotta mention, if Sziky had gone into straight ultras with this fast third, this game would already be over with Mihu for getting +1. But because he didn't do that, he's just going into lurker defiler. The upgrades, the fact that his +1 was late is not going to make that much of a difference here.
Yeah, so we see that Mihu is building his command center. Going to be taking that top middle base in a second. Meanwhile, he's got a command center already going up at bottom left, and the way he's splitting this map really does look like it could be a mech switch. However, we see him building more barracks. I think he had like something like 6 or 7. So it is probably just going to be continuous bioplay, but he has not started his +2 weapon again. He's got the double eBay, so that's also obviously indicative of Marine Medic. But supplies are so heavily in favor of Terran right now. What is that, 127 to 65? I mean, Sziky has a good drone count, but where's his army?
Yeah, there's another macro hatch going down. Sziky has mostly lings now, not really utilizing his gas, this large gas bank he's built up since the mid game. Looks like we have another swarm here. No plague quite yet, and no scourge here to pounce on these vessels. It's like +1 carapace is about to be finished, but yeah, this gas, this amount of gas is actually huge for Sziky.
I think that's an ultra cavern being built right now, and that means that we are going to have ultra play. He has so much gas, I mean, you might as well. And he's probably clicked the Marines and seen that, hey, you still only have +1, so I can actually go ultras here. And still, Mihu has not started his +2 weapon upgrades, so ultras with even upgrades, I mean, that's going to be the dream scenario really for Zerg. So Sziky, even though he's kind of down in the dumps in supplies right now, once that ultra cavern pops, we should see him shoot up to about 100 pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's getting ultralist upgrades. He's on 6 hatcheries. Should see him try to take a 4th base right now, as he has swarm to push back. The vessel ball is currently at 5, which is a pretty menacing number. He's only been able to kill 1. Really needs plagues now. I think he finally does have plague. There's a first plague, and that's a very nice plague. Marines at the front getting their HP reduced, and SCV transferred to the bottom left. So we're talking about 4-base Terran against a 3-base Zerg, but it's not like, this is pretty bad for Zerg, but it's not game ending if Zerg can utilize defilers and ultralists well. That being said, the economic advantage for Mihu at this point is actually ridiculous.
Yeah, but a lot of Zerg players are unable to take their 4th base for a long time because obviously the Marine Medic control and the overwhelming amount of vessels in this stage of the game. So just now taking the 4th base, I still think Zyky's in an okay position. You can see 5 ultras are being morphed right now, and there is armor advantage for Sziky in the next couple minutes once +2 kicks in. Dark Swarm going to save the day again, buying a lot of time, but there's a huge army coming to try and reinforce this natural, and we've got upwards of like 8 vessels, I think, and I don't see that many defilers left for Sziky, maybe like 1. He's also gonna be careful about an eraser, man. Oh no, the ultras pop right when the vessels get here.
Oh man, he's gotta be careful. This is so many Marines. The Zerg isn't gonna have, like, this is an insane concave here. It's very hard to engage as Zerg. Oh, and the ultralists get irradiated, so now they're splashing all the Zerg units. This is looking grim for Sziky.
Oh no, Ultra, you can't walk in there. You're killing your own units, man. Killing his own drones. But if he walks away, or if he doesn't walk away, he's gonna have to engage these Marines. Dark Swarm comes up in time. It looked like Marines might have been able to bust through those Sunkens, but luckily a nice orange cloud comes in to save the day. Damn, look at the drone count, just so down in the dumps despite having so many macro hatches. Still at 35, still sub 100 supply for Zerg, and we're probably going to see that mech switch, or not mech switch, the BCs coming in pretty soon because I see that armory just completed.
So maybe mech switch. Yeah, it could be spamming tanks at bottom left as well. And first ultralists are out, but that's just so many Marines. Even though the ultralists have good upgrades, Sziky can't really support them. He needs defilers, he needs ultras, he needs Scourge to whittle down the vessel count.
Yeah, like you said, I think only 1 vessel has died this entire game, maybe 2. I mean, of course, another one gets picked off there, but there's still 6 or 7 left over. The irradiates are absolutely brutal and endless, and it's 170 supply to just 70. It even looks like Mihu's going to take a 5th base at bottom left, and I mean, he doesn't really have to do anything. He can just slowly build up his tank count, and if Sziky can't even deal with Marine Medic, I have no idea how he's going to deal with something like 20 tanks supporting these forces.
You can see all that gas Sziky had after he made 6 ultralists. It's completely gone. He did manage to get another drone run in, and 43 is a much healthier number, but he just can't keep up. Like, Mihu is running away with this game. Sziky hasn't been able to break out of his natural. and the vessel count is still at 6. So this will be non-stop irradiate. Every time a vessel moves forward, it's getting an Ultra, it's getting a Defiler, and eventually Ziky's gonna starve out. Although he did manage to finally get a 4th base, he's still very, very poor in comparison.
Yeah, and he's broke on gas. He's lost all of his gas-intensive units, the Defilers and the Ultras. And what's punishing about these vessels, I've seen one plague. That's it. Like, and look at the arc. Like, he can't even plague a huge group either. Like, all the units are split up very well. And unless you can start plaguing units and actually taking down the Marines, I mean, this is just going to be endless irradiates with no counter.
Right, as soon as a vessel sees a Defiler pop out of that Nidus, it's already getting irradiated, and it can't even get to the army to get a plague. Ziky has only been able to utilize swarms, and we have finally Mihu moving forward. He senses there's no Defiler here. The swarm is about to run out, although that Ultra finally goes down. And we have a D-Matrix on the Marines. This looks like it's going to be the bust. Nothing coming out of that. Nidus is helping Ziky here.
Yeah, it's just too many units. The upgrades are even right now, 2-2 versus 2-2. There's no Defiler. With no Defiler, honestly, there's just almost no hope, and that's it. Mihu, he just easily overruns Ziky there, and I thought Ziky's opener was about as good of an opener as you're going to get.
Yeah, so Ziky got that 3rd base, got away with it, but just didn't do enough with the Mutalisk, I would say. And once you lose that Mutalisk, like you have a lot less flexibility in the mid to late game. And Mihu just expanded everywhere, kept the pressure on, never let it up, and he had this huge vessel ball that Ziky had a very tough time dealing with.
Yeah, the vessel control was really good, keeping him alive for so long. But I'm kind of just confused because as a Terran player, I'm looking at it and I was just like, there wasn't really anything Mihu did special in the early game. It was just kind of he was just better. I don't really know how he easily overran Ziky. Like the Marine small move out to bottom right, that was great. Killed a lot of drones. But other than that, there was no like funky special tactics. It was just pretty much straight up. And you know, Ziky's faced it millions and millions of times. So I don't know where exactly it went wrong for Ziky.
Yeah, because even the big Marine push eventually got cleaned up. He did trade all his Mutalisks for it, but he managed to defend the 3rd base. He had a 4th hatch, even a 5th hatch later. And maybe Ziky missed a drone cycle. He was on 35 drones for a very long time. He had a lot of gas. Usually when you have a lot of gas in this matchup as Zerg, it means you're under drones. You can't really spend all your gas because you don't have enough minerals. But I mean, tough loss for Ziky, I gotta say. It looked really good in the early mid game, and then Mihu just ran away with the game with his mechanics, I guess. Very good control of the Marine medic ball and the vessels, and then just he was on top of expanding, never missed a beat there. Took a 4th really fast, and with that, Mihu is up 1-0, and I gotta say it's looking tough for Ziky.
Yeah, and Ziky didn't even get to see that Mihu had bottom left. He didn't get to even see that mech units were being built. All he saw was Marine medic vessel. So he doesn't even know if this guy is like a BC guy, this guy a mech guy, this guy that only builds vessel. All he knows is that it's Marine medic and vessel. So Mihu didn't even use half of his army. Still won. So that's got to be bad news bears for Ziky here. Now we do know what the maps are going to be. So let me take a look at what the second one is going to be. It's going to be Aztec.
Yeah, so Ziky banned Vertebrae and Mihu banned Heartbreak Ridge. So it's going to be Wavelet, Aztec, Goodnight, Revolver. So Aztec, I gotta say it's a better match for Zerg. Zerg has there's a lot of features on this map that make it good for Zerg. What do you think?
Well, if you're picking Aztec, you're praying Terran gets top middle. If
Right.
they get top middle, oh, it's doomsday scenario for Terran. And I think we saw in a previous BSL game where Mutas got into the sweet spot by the ramp at bottom right and just mowed down units as they came down the ramp into the main. It is a brutal map for Muta control. And if you're somebody like Ziky or Babo or Eon Zerg or somebody of that nature and you've got great Muta control, you can easily just snowball the game with pure muta. So I'm sure that's what Zzyky is looking to do. It also plays into that hidden third base that he just went for last game. And this is not a 4-player map, so Mihu can't expand to another mate. So going to keep that in mind going into this map. It's going to be game 2, Zzyky versus Mihu. Mihu already up 1-0. Okay, in the bottom left, our red Zerg player. It is Zzyky.
All right, and in the infamous 12 o'clock spawn, we have the blue Terran Mihu.
Yeah, now if this was Terror and he got this spawn, I would not be surprised if he's just like, screw this, I'm 8-raxing, and we're just going to try and ignore the mid game. But we don't know if Mihu's that type of player, and there's no SCV move out, so it doesn't look like it's going to be any aggressive play from him. Now, we already saw a 9 pool on Wavelet, and actually early pool builds are pretty good on ramps that are inverted like this, so we may actually see another early pool opener from Zzyky.
Yeah, 9 pool, although the rush distances are longer on this map, you do have the Marines missing half their shots when the Lings are above the ramp. So it could be effective, but it looks like Zzyky did make an Overlord. Probably going to be a 12 hatch. And I think 12 hatch into 2 hatch play with Mutalist is just too strong of a strategy on this map to pass up.
Yeah, it's really, really strong, especially when Terran's top middle. And when I do watch pros play, I've been seeing some Valkyrie openers lately. So we may see something like that he opened with from Mihu to kind of just nullify the +1 weapon mutas that just simply keep coming over and over and over. For now, there's no gas, so it's not going to be a gas opener, a tech opener from Mihu. We may see some type of delayed tech opener though after he gets his command center. Meanwhile, there's the hatchery, the 12 hatch for Zzyky, and we're just going to wait for his gas timing. Because right now, everything looks pretty normal. There it is.
Right, so it's just going to be 2 hatch muta or 2 hatch lair, and Mihu looks like he's going for Rax expand. So pretty standard here. Those depots at the top of the mineral line make me a little bit nervous. Every time you build stuff around your mineral line, like it just makes it harder for your Marines to get there, get to be the back. So I'm a little bit. It's not like a terrible decision to make them there, but it's a little bit awkward later. And here we have the gas building up for Zzyky finally. Looks like he has another drone. I'm not really sure what it's doing.
Yeah, what makes it even worse is, as you stated, the Marines can't take that path anymore. And just looking at the layout, he's probably going to put turrets to the south of the barracks, which means if the mutas go to the very top of the map and to the right side, I don't even think they're going to intercept any turrets, because I actually expect the starport and stuff to be up there, which means that as the mutas fly by, they can pick off the SCV building it. So this already might start turning into a disaster for Mihu, simply based on the building placement. Now he does come in here and confirm the gas, so he knows that this is not a 3-hatch opener like it was last game. Ling's going to try and push it out, but does come back in for a re-scout. Doesn't see anything unordinary.
We have Zzyky repositioning that Overlord from bottom right, heading towards top right, and it's actually very important for the Zerg to have an Overlord near that ramp. Looks like he's changing his mind because he doesn't really know. Like the Marines could be out on the map hunting for that Overlord. That's something it's like very high level play. But if you know Zerg doesn't have an Overlord at your natural, they really want it to get there. Otherwise, Zzyky's gonna have to rely on Lings to spot at the front.
Yeah. And something I'm just noticing with Mihu's play right here is this is a 350 gas, which means we're going to have like a 4-minute academy. It's just now started. And this is the type of academy timing that I was playing in the past. And that means that his stims or his range is going to be very slow. It's going to be very hard to deal with mutas. And we know that Zerg players have learned to manage their econ much better than in the past. But it is going to give him a lot of Marines like what we just saw on Wavelet. And in the last game, Zzyky didn't seem to have an answer for this. This time around, instead of putting the 3rd hatch at another base, he's going to be building it in his main. That's pretty common these days because you are seeing more ample-esque openers, which is, very fast academy and stimming across the map and trying to get damage done. So I like this follow-up with the third hatch in the main.
Yeah, and this is 2.5 hatch from Sziky, where you get the third hatch after you start the lair, so your muted timing is still on point. You get an additional hatchery. It's a very nice economic opener, and again, more depots being made near the mineral line.
I'm just like, where are you going to put the turrets, man? They're just not going to have any up there? Mutas don't have to necessarily kill SCVs. If you kill depots even, that's annoying because, Terran has to build all their stuff in that top right quadrant near the barracks. If they don't build them there, they're just out in the open and they're just going to continuously get picked off. So Mihu, oh man, once these mutas start flying, I'm expecting to see a lot of damage onto that side of the mineral line.
Now we have the first two medics. Looks like we have a large marine group here. It might actually be more than 12. Here we see the first few turrets being added, so decent. That one in the back is super exposed, will get picked off right away. Get the Marines moving out now, but Sziky shouldn't need a sunken at all to defend this. Like, he has a meter slot, he knows these Marines won't have range. He could get a good engagement here, and he's going for +1 yet again. Let's see if he commits to more mutalists this game than he did last.
Yeah, last game I really was not a big fan of just 9. It really didn't do the damage he was looking for. I think he's got to build additional mutas this time. And that scan was crucial for Mihu because he also saw the third hatch creep, so he knows there's no hatch on the map. That means he can just sit in his base. And this is the problem with the base layout is, where do you build turrets? There's only 2 right there, but the second one doesn't even connect to the first one, so not a lot of damage done. Now Marines get picked off for free pretty much. But Mihu, he's decided he's going to move out, but Ling's sitting outside of the entrance there, and they're going to spot it, and we've already got Sunkens getting placed.
Yeah, and the retreat path for these mutalists to the natural is actually really short, so these mutas can hang around here for longer. Sziky only has to be worried about the bust. Looks like he's getting so much damage done here. He's killed so many turrets already. He's killed a couple Marines. Marines out of the bunker. Looks like Mihu realizes the threat and the fact that the Sunkens are already up, and he's gonna full retreat here, but these Marines are so far away.
Yeah, and that ramp and building positioning is one of the reasons Aztec is such a hard map, because you saw how those Marines just funneled in one at a time pretty much. Sziky ends up losing 2 mutas, 3 mutas. Okay, now the mutas are starting to fall, but that's already a lot of damage. But as I state that, drone count, again, not very high because he ended up having to build so many Sunkens at his natural. He ended up having to build so many Lings to just make sure he didn't die. But he does have the 3 hatch already in his main, so a lot of larvae available. He does have the bottom right hatchery available, and that's going to be up and running pretty soon. So he will be able to catch up pretty soon.
But again, this mutalist count is so low. I'm surprised he didn't make just mutalists and drones when he was getting all that damage done. The Sunkens alone would have been enough. Now he's very under-droned here. He only has 19 instead of 25, which was earlier. He's getting a Hydrogen even, and this is really, really hurting Sziky's economy. So even though Mihu's pinned in his base, and it looks like Sziky's doing a lot of damage, Sziky has to drone up here for at least a cycle to come back economically in this game, and especially to support this third base. Otherwise, it's just going to be there with larvae.
Yep, and here come those Marines on the bottom side, and as Zero pointed out, there's still no +1 weapon started for Mihu. So again, I don't know if he missed it, or he's just be going into a mech switch, or if he's going to go into just delayed +1, but he is severely lacking in the upgrades. We do see drones finally being morphed for Sziky's up to 24 or so right now. But look at that top side. There's no turrets. That's a free depot unless these Marines come and save the day.
It looks like some drones finally made for Sziky. The factory timing is again around 8 minutes, same as last game. No +1, so this might be something he just does, which it really doesn't make sense because he's walking over the eBay. He sees it's not upgrading.
Oh, an isolated group of Marine medic. He can't do that. And this time around, he's going to get punished, almost losing nothing there, maybe like 1 mutalist, and that's it. And this drone count that was at 20 a moment ago, all of a sudden it's at 33, and he does have bottom right, so he's going to have a lot of econ. But we see add-on going onto the factory, so we will be seeing a tank push. And this could be a good timing because I see the Queen's Nest has just started. Oh my gosh, did this go unspotted? All the Marines and medics are slipping around the right side.
Completely unspotted here by Sziky. No links there. Looks like this might intercept. No, looks like it's just barely gonna miss the move out.
Oh, this is heartbreaking for you Zziky fans because he looked like he's in a great position. He even supply blocked Mihu, but he's about to get his bottom right base completely obliterated. However, couple Hydras did just complete and his lurker upgrade is done, but they're not on the ramp. And that means that these Marines, if they stim, should be able to get in here and kill this base. Oh,
no, it's not blocking.
Oh, he just barely misses it like in the Wavelet game, man. The mutas are coming back, and these Marines are heavily stimmed even at 10 health. 10 mutas may be able to overrun this. Those medics, I don't know if they have the energy. The lurker gets instantly killed, holy moly. But these Marines are so low, look at them. They're dying to just these mutas. Oh, the hatchery still dies.
Oh man, that was so clutch there by Mihu. Zziky somehow missing that move out, that massive move out. And now, although Zziky did manage to save his drones at least, he doesn't have a hatchery there. So these drones are going to probably hightail it out of there. I mean, that's 12 drones here, not mining.
Yeah, but if he sends it across the map, he risks getting intercepted by something. I mean, we see there's nothing out on the map. So I have a feeling, well, I thought he was just going to leave them there, but it looks like he is actually going to transfer them back to his natural. You gotta remember, Zerg has Nidus, so we'll be able to transfer it back pretty easily. Now, we do have barracks flood coming in. That's going to be 6 barracks in total. We've got second eBay coming in, so he is going to continue to play the bio type of opener, and there's those 2 tanks, and he's looking to push this natural, and Hive not even done yet.
I gotta say, that Overlord not being at the natural has been huge here. Looks like we have a huge tip here from Dragon BW. Is that the Dragon?
Might be the Dragon, man. Thank you for the massive tip. I've seen a couple of massive tips. Anonymous with 100. I've seen a lot of bit donations. Thank you so much. We're getting closer and closer to the $5,000 goal. We still need a little bit more though, but we've got this huge push moving across the map. It's 2 tanks, a vessel. I think it has a radiate even, and there's not much defense other than these 9 mutilas.
Yeah, I gotta say that Overlord not seeing that move out, because you always get an Overlord at the natural unless you don't scout the fronts. And this Overlord, it's slightly mispositioned. If it had been at the natural, Zziky would have seen that. We're looking at a different game. That's a huge irradiate. Zziky having a tough time splitting the mutalists. It's like we have some very bruised mutalists here, but the mutalists are still alive. It's not a huge bio ball. There's only 1 tank left, so he does have time to build up the defense here. Looks like we don't have a Defiler Mound though quite yet.
Oh, you gotta pick off the tank. He loses a lot of mutas there, and he loses all the lings. Oh, but this forces a stim from Mihu, but this may be an overextend. Yeah, he's gonna back off, especially with that lurker in position. Dishes out a lot of damage. Obviously, we've got a couple lurkers across the map, maybe going for some hold position shenanigans. He's gonna start his Defiler Mound. Oh my gosh, 2 more tanks. You actually don't see constant tank production that often these days, but he's decided that this is the way he can end this game, and it's the right move. There's no way Zziky can engage this. He doesn't have a lot of lurkers. It's just Ling Muta.
Yeah, and no Defilers here. The Defiler Mound just went down. More mutas being added. Looks like we have lurkers at the back. These are gonna snipe the tanks, I think. And more mutas being made, but no, looks like the reinforcements from Mihu arrived just in time. The tanks do die, but there's still a large marine ball with a vessel here to support. And Zziky just doesn't have anything, again with a huge gas bank here and not utilizing it here. Nidus is done, but nothing comes out of it, and another bust here. And Mihu is up 2-0.
Yeah, nicely done again from Mihu. Just constant pressure. And I thought that Muta attack in the initial stages of the game where it forced Mihu back, that was going to be all Zziky needed to start scaling into the mid game, into the late game. But that one move, sending all the units around the side, not being intercepted by the Overlord, cost him the game. And you know he realized just slightly too late, because that Hydra, when it went to morph the lurker, just barely out of position, man.
Yeah, he was panicking to get that on the ramp. And if he does get that on the ramp, he has enough time. The Marines are like 2 or 3 times stimmed, so they're pretty low. The energy on the medics was either like non-existent or not enough to heal the Marines. So the Mutas would have dealt with it. But in the panic, He just morphs it slightly to the left of the middle, and unfortunately for him, with that, he loses the third base. Has all these drones that have to retreat back to this main, not mine. And I mean, it looked really good, even better than game one there for Ziki. Ziki was doing so much with the Mutalisk, but missing the move out cost him the game.
Yeah, and that type of way to lose is literally the worst, because you're like, man, if I just had my Overlord in the right position, this would have been completely different. So Ziki, he's clearly got to have to be on top of the minor things, because Mihu will take advantage if he sees you even slightly out of position, or realizes that, hey, you don't have any vision here, I'm just going to go backstab you. And all of a sudden, the series that had just started, we're already on match point. Mihu is one game away, and it's going to be his pick now. Aztec was Ziki's pick. Now, third map is going to be Good Night. Now, I still think that this is a good map for Zerg, especially if Terran gets top left. But just how it seems to be going these days, Mihu just seems to have way too many units than what Ziki is used to.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe he picked Good Night. He expected to be up 2-0, and he's like, "Good night, Ziki. Good night."
Yeah. Put him to bed. Well, I mean, he's got the option to do that. He's one game away from taking the series. I mean, didn't we just start like 25 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago? And we're so close to finishing the series potentially. This is last lifeline for Ziki. But I just remembered that actually we're going to go into a break. Then we're going to come back with our potentially last game. You guys are going to get to see some cheerfuls, I think. And we'll be back in a couple minutes. we're back. I hope you guys enjoyed those cheerfuls, and we got to see Sziky versus Mihu video again. And now we're on potentially the last game for Sziky here. This is must win for him. Otherwise, he's going to be eliminated and not going to be able to make it into the finals. Mihu's up 2-0, and he's decided his final map potentially is going to be set on Good Night, and this is a pretty darn good Terran map.
Well, Sziky definitely had his chance there in game 2, and he's got to be kicking himself for not seeing that move out, because otherwise he would have been in a fantastic position heading into the late game. Having said, that's how quickly a series can change. All of a sudden you're down 2-0, despite feeling pretty good in, I gotta say, both games in the early game. But somehow Mihu works his magic, and despite the early game deficit, he manages to outplay Sziky both times. And well, this could be either a quick series or maybe Sziky is going to start his comeback here on Good Night.
Yeah, could be the case. I think right now Sziky just doesn't have an answer to the overwhelming amount of units that Mihu has. It just seems to be catching him off guard. A lot of Terrans are playing more lower econ, whereas Mihu here delaying his academy, even delaying +1 to just flat out get more stuff, seems to be catching Sziky a little bit off guard. And like you said, I think Sziky was fine on Aztec until that move out happened. So he's definitely going to have to be on top of his game going into game 3. There's not a lot of places to put your Overlord on Good Night, so if he's not able to catch it on Aztec, I feel like we may see another small move out catch him off guard. But yeah, Sziky, man, I just don't know, because it just doesn't seem like Mihu's doing anything special. Like I said in game 1, it's just somehow he's just obliterating Sziky here.
Yeah, right. Nothing extraordinary from Mihu. Just solid play, and just has a lot of units, and Sziky can't fight them. So it's a game of inches too. You gotta say, if that lurker head gets on the ramp, if somehow the Overlord sees the move out, or even that one lane that was patrolling sees it, Sziky has enough time to retreat and defend. But none of those things happened, and with that, 2-0 is the series.
Yep, and with this screen up on our screen, that means that we are ready to get into game 3. So let's see if Mihu here can close it out, or if Sziky's going to start staging that comeback. Okay, in the top right, one game away from making it into the finals, it is Mihu.
And in the bottom left, we have Sziky. Cross spawns on Good Night.
Yeah, so this time around, good spawns for Mihu. He doesn't have the weird like mineral mining path where SUVs can actually just mine the backside for no reason. So Sziky won't be able to get as much damage done, I don't think. Also, of course, since he has a corner base, you don't have to worry about the open side and bottom side of your mineral line like you do on Aztec. Now, I actually want to see Sziky. I want to see him play aggressive like he did in the first game. Like the 9 pool gave him a good opener. I got him into a good position. I just want to see him kind of bring it to Mihu, because right now, honestly, Mihu's dictating the majority of the game once it gets past the initial, first couple mutalisks.
Yeah, and Sziky has good mutalisk control, and we're seeing him end up in situations where he's actually floating a lot of gas, and it's got to be because he's under droning. I remember in game 2, while he was getting all that damage done, not only did he make 4 sunkens, which is fine, but he also made like 18 lings. That could have been giant 9 drones there. So he's really gotta find the balance there between making mutalisks and drones when he's harassing, and I think that's basically what's hurt him both games, right? Just not enough drones.
Yeah, we mentioned it in the first game that the drone count seemed a little bit low. Second game, it was very low. It was at like 20 drones when the Marines moved out because of how many sunkens he had to build. And as you mentioned, building those lings didn't help him, because in the end, the Marines didn't even move across the map completely. They turned around. So Sziky needs to keep that in mind, needs to not over defend and try and scale into the mid and late game a little bit better. Meanwhile, we've got Mihu sending out a scout, and this is what I've noticed in all 3 games so far, is a lot of Terran players actually scout on 11 because they want to see if they can get away with a 15 command center. You know, if they don't have to build a depot, they don't want to. But consistently, Mihu is delaying this scout, giving him a little bit better of an econ boost, and he goes for a double scout here. And because he's intercepted this drone, he knows now Sziky's bottom left. And wow, you see that? He built the command center without actually scouting for lings.
So he has this one Marine at the front right there to see if any lings are coming. And I think doesn't see lings, just makes the low ground command center. Feels pretty confident. Drone here sees the command center as well, and he's going to retreat now. So nice scouting information there for both players.
Now in Ziky's main, of course, this is the typical 2-hatch opener. He's going to be going into the quick lair. Meanwhile, drone comes and confirms that, of course, the natural is being taken. And when he saw the 1 Marine in the command center, I'm sure Zerg was probably thinking like, hey man, you didn't even scout and you got away with this. So a bit lucky for him to actually do this. A lot of times when I put down the command center without scouting, I got it instantly canceled because it, of course, is the time that they go for a 9 pool or an overpool. I didn't catch how many lings this was. It looks like it's 4, and I think there's 4 Marines. So this should not deal any damage.
Okay, so it was actually 6, but that being said, it's cross map, so they're going to take a while to get there. And with 5 Marines, you can easily abuse their range and micro them effectively against just 5 lings. Looks like the 6 even going to pop out, and looks like we have Sziky gonna get these 3 lings. Looks like 2 are trying to get into the main. This seems not great for Sziky here. Looks like he's gonna lose all his lings here.
No, and he can't lose these lings. And do you know why, seriously? Because this time around, even though it's cross spawn, this is a 330 academy. So in comparison to the previous games, especially Wavelet, which was horizontal close spawn, and he went for a 4-minute academy and didn't go for a rush. This time around, it's cross spawn, and he's decided that he wants to be aggressive with this fast academy play, and Sziky has no way to spot it. I think we may just see Terran move across the map, and if this Overlord doesn't get here in time by the time the medics pop out, we may just see the game flat out end. Luckily, those are 2 Marines that were coming out and not medics because the Overlord was not in position. Oh my gosh, he's bleeding off 2 Marines?
So something we've seen from him. He likes the small Marine counterattacks, and here he's sending out 2. I'm not really sure what these are going to accomplish. Maybe he suspects that Sziky made lings, but how's them out on the map? And Sziky did, of course, make those links because he lost his initial 6. So you need to make more in case Terran moves out. And then Terran, oh my god, the Marines are here, and they're going to scout everything, and they're probably going to force the drone pull.
I think he has stem also. Like, I don't see it upgrading, so he probably has stem. Ziky's probably is like, how are there 2 Marines at my natural? And how are they already popping 2 drones? He doesn't even realize just yet these lings counterattack and are dealing a lot of damage, but he doesn't realize all of the drones are dying, man.
Oh my god, he still hasn't looked there. He finally, I think, realized it now, but I mean, his link counterattack didn't do nearly as much damage as these 2 Marines.
Oh, I'm getting flashbacks to like Dandy versus Hawk in the previous BSL, where Dandy just flat out attacked with 2 Marines and it ended the game. Like the first 2 Marines. I don't think I've ever seen 2 Marines move out at this timing, avoid all the lings, and get this amount of damage done. And we were talking about how the drone count was so low for Sziky in both of the previous games. Now it's at 12, and he can't afford to build drones because if he builds drones, he doesn't have mutas. So this is pretty much as all in as Sziky can possibly be, and he has to get damage done.
Yeah, that was so many drones just to the 2 Marines. He's actually droning up a little, but he really needs Muralist to get counter damage. Otherwise, I mean, Mu's just gonna run away with it again.
Oh my god, I just realized Stem never upgraded. It's now just 75% done. That means there is a glimmer of hope for Sziky because range is gonna take forever. And as I've stated, Zerg players have gotten even better with their muta control. He may be able to crawl his way back into this game if he can find SCVs out of position at the natural, pick them off over and over and over, potentially that's the way that Zeki can crawl back. You can see that SCV down there at the bottom, mining from the backside for no reason. But still, a ton of Marines for Mihu, so Zeki unable to find any damage in the main.
Okay, so Zeki actually did drone up. He actually has a third hatch. I missed that completely. But he did decide the way he's going to come back in this game is just to make 7 Mutalisks, which is enough to one-shot the SCVs, and then just focus fully on droning up. And good call by him, because despite the disastrous opener, I think he's fine here. Like, Terran doesn't have range yet. The mutants can abuse the natural, and the economy isn't looking so grim here, 29-21. Zeki even managing to get a 4th hatch at a 3rd base here. I mean, despite all that, I mean, Zeke's in this game.
Yeah, he is surprisingly still in the game. Terran's not building any SCVs either, so his econ is also in the dumps, and the muta count is high enough where it, of course, can pick off Marines that are out of position of the medics. And I think he has +1 almost done. Yeah, it is so close to being done. And Marines have to be careful because, sure, 4 medics can heal a lot, but they don't have infinite energy. Just now starting the factory, so an 830 factory, I mean, it's going to take so long for him to get vessels. Mutas find some damage there, picks off like 6 Marines, and this is one way to get Zeki back in the game.
Looks like he gets a couple more retreating there. There's more Mutalisks here than Marines. Zeki can target them down. He has to be careful not to lose the OHP Mutalisks, but he manages to kill with +1 all the Marines. If he can snipe these medics additionally, it will really slow down Mihu. Looks like all the Marines are dead. The medics are completely exposed, and this is, I mean, this game flipped so quickly. It's all of a sudden looking very good for Zeki.
Yeah, I don't know how this happened. He wiped the entire drone line, but now Zeki has replenished the drones. He's got a 3rd base even. He killed all of Terran's units. He's kept Terran on a manageable SCV count also. It's at just 34. The tech is delayed. The only thing that's not delayed this time around is +1 weapon for Terran, but without any units, of course, +1 doesn't matter. You got to actually be able to dish out some damage with it for it to be effective. And Zeki, he's going to try and bust this.
This is bold from Zeki. Marines unload out of the bunker. Stim. Marines here to support as well. He does manage to kill a bunker and some Marines. He only loses 1 Mutalist, so not terrible for Zeki there, but again, not what he wanted to get done. The 4th hatch is done. He already has a 3rd base. He already has the Queen's Nest started, and looks like Mihu is actually gonna go into tanks yet again.
Yeah, and I think that this is not going to be as successful because the Hive already started. It's going to be much quicker than it was on Aztec, and if he does not go instantly with 1 tank, I actually don't think he'll be able to bust through a potential sunken
Whoa, Zeki only has 2 on gas in his main. I just realized.
Oh, that hurts so much because, of course, gas is the key component of the Zerg army, but for now, it's not going to backfire. But as the game goes later and later, he's going to need to fix that because, of course, Defilers, Ultras, Lurkers, all so very, very expensive.
So that's a lot of turrets at the natural, but Zeki can still pick them off. He has +1. You can see the Mutalisks, just how strong they are. It looks like SCVs surrounding that turret, preparing for repair, and we actually have a worker lead for Zeki here.
Oh, mid-left gets scouted, and even workers for the Zerg means that they are in a fantastic position. The scan may have been a bit scary for Zeki because he was not able to confirm where the Marines are, but the Lings now confirm that there was no move out, so he should be able to get up Lurkers in time or even Sunkens. You can see the tanks are mixed in with the army. Siege will be in time. The question is will Defilers be in time? I think there's only going to be... I think he only needs me. Oh, what? Greater Spire? There's no Defiler.
Yeah, and still only 2 on gas. Zeki hasn't noticed. Now it's going to start hurting him not having that upgrade or that extra gas for it. Oh, it looks like the Mutas. Okay, only 1 dies there, but that could have been disastrous. The tanks, I think, haven't been spotted quite yet, if I'm correct. And the Marine Ball is actually heading straight towards the 3rd. It's like Lurkers morphing on the low ground. Curiously enough, they will finish, so the tanks will be forced to siege, and this will give Zeki some time to get his Guardian upgrades. Looks like they're all the Marines getting picked off. They're not really grouped up together, and good Mutalisk control. Right, Zeke's getting all the Marines, there's only like 8 Marines left. And I mean, just not enough. Ziki, great Mutalist control there.
Yeah, and he doesn't necessarily need to keep all the mutas alive. Of course, he wants to build a lot of Guardians, but even something like 3 or 4 would be enough to buy time for Defilers, or at least fend off this attack. So nice trades there, killing a lot of the Marines, but 3 tanks, a single vessel, are going to be on the front lines pretty soon, and there's not that many lurkers for Ziki. I think he's got like 4 at his third base, and then maybe like 2 or 3 at his natural. But Mihu, is he really going to try and attack the mid-left? Yeah, he's now going to switch over to the natural. And Ziki wants to fight with just these 4 lurkers.
Yeah, so 3 tanks is actually a pretty menacing number. But of course, the Guardians are about to be done. There's only 1 vessel. So only 1 Irradiate will be able to kill these Guardians. Tanks siege up, but this is giving Ziki a lot of time. And Ziki should be able to defend. Again, I'm a little bit worried because that main still only has 2 on gas. And now you can see he's very, very gas-starved.
Yeah, he still hasn't realized. We can see that the consume upgrade is about halfway done. Once Dark Swarm comes out, of course, that's going to be a huge game changer. But now the Guardians are going to get shown, but there's not anything to support it anymore because the lurkers got taken out. Marines might actually be able to plow through this. A defensive matrix onto one of the Marines. The lurkers are bleeding off in the back. That's a great engagement from Mihu. And remember, the Defiler is still not out. Somehow there are 3 tanks that are capable of pushing this. Okay, actually there is a Defiler out in time, and just barely he gets the Dark Swarm down.
Okay, but that was a terrible engagement for Ziki. He lost all his lurkers. He lost like 4 Guardians, and Mihu didn't really lose anything. Just now losing the tanks. But again, the tanks don't really scale later into the game. It's all about this timing. So I think even though he's not gonna be able to kill Ziki, he did enough with those trades, with those engagements, that he's fine now. Ziki no longer has that overwhelming amount of units. It's very, very low on gas as well. Like killing all these gas units when Ziki hasn't been mining his main gas for 3 is really, really hurting him. And you can see, unlike the previous games where he's flowing a lot of gas, now he basically has none.
Okay, Mihu's gonna try and bust this mid-left base, but did he kill all the lings? No, I don't think so. They're just on hold position there. You can see that a couple lurkers got Nidus through, and now they're going to... Whoa, 1 bleeds off! The Guardians still haven't died, and this tank is going to be taken out, but that was close. Like, there's not a lot of defense there. Also, you have to remember there's still 3 vessels here that really haven't used much of their energy. Is he getting +1 weapon? Does he even have armor on his units?
Okay, it looks like he has 1/1s +2, and Ziki is actually behind on upgrades quite significantly for the first time, although just 1 upgrade difference is not huge for Zerg. The Defiler will buy him enough time, but again, the gas is so low, and Ziki is looking to be pinned between his natural and third. He can't really move out.
Look at Ziki's supply. Like, you think he's in a good position. Like, he's got a lot of drones, 36 to 45. I mean, that's not bad, but he only has 50 supply total, and I'm getting flashbacks to Wavelet game. We can see that the mineral only has now started for Mihu, and now that I guess he's feeling comfortable with his position, he may double expand. He's found an opening at mid-left. Luckily, a Dark Swarm's going to come in here and save the day for now, but there's no more lurkers. I don't think there's another Defiler set up either, and the third base is so close to the natural that he can just swoop around here and try and bust this too, and there's no Defiler or lurker there either.
Yeah, and it looks like this is the move from Mihu. Nothing coming out of that Nidus to help there. It looks like that's an Overlord that was irradiated. The fighter quite about to finish, but it's not done. And again, he's getting busted. There's nothing coming out of this Nidus.
There's no links.
Like he hasn't done it, and he did it.
I can't believe it. Oh my gosh, I thought first off, I thought Mihu was going to win the game with the 2 Marines, but then Ziki had an amazing comeback, and I thought that he was going to easily hold with the Guardians. Yet again, somehow, Mihu just has like endless units, endless great trades, and is able to bust.
Yeah, I mean, Ziggy was dead. He was down to 12 drones, but he managed to get out 7 Mutalisks, which bought him enough time. Mihu forgets Stim, which is a huge factor here. And then Ziggy comes back, looks like he's in a dominant position. He's controlling the Marine ball. He's dwindled it down. There's only like 2 tanks and like 8 Marines. But despite that, with 1 vessel, 2 tanks and 8 Marines, he's able to kill 8 lurkers and like 3 Guardians. I think he had a nicely placed D-Matrix. And Ziki did expend a lot of gas to make those Guardians, and again, he only had 2 in the main, and just never had good fights after that moment. Everything was downhill from there. I don't think he broke 6-6 supply after that point, and just Mihu relentless, bouncing between the natural and the third, and eventually found the opening he was looking for and just ended the game right away.
Yeah, the Guardians, like, I don't know if you noticed, like, when they were over that ledge between the net and the third base, I was looking at it, I was like, wow, Guardians actually look pretty slick here. But then they got caught. And unfortunately, bleeding the Guardians, bleeding the Lurkers, and that's all it took for Mihu to overwhelm Ziki in that particular game. And you can see from the results, this was a 3-0, and it was decisive. Like, Mihu just crushed him every game, really. So Mihu looking like he's potentially going to be the champions this season, because other than Gypsy in the TVT, like, almost every game we've seen Mihu play this season has just been dominant. So congratulations to him. He makes it into the finals. Unfortunately, Ziki's going to be knocked down into the third place match.